Thank you so much for having me, Abigail and Emily. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
First of all, congratulations for the great work. It's not common to have a duo female songwriters in a large production like this one. Just like in the movie, New Frontiers continue to be rich. How did you receive the assignment and how did you deal with the responsibility?
It's a responsibility we do not take lightly. We grew up obsessing over Disney movies. We're the Disney generation. And we wanted to do it justice. So we had an amazing creative team that we got to work with. Animation is a really interesting process because it's ever evolving and it's always changing. And, having the music evolve with the story and rolling with the punches and rewriting and scrapping and rewriting again and writing more and this and that. I loved it. Looking back, it was like one of the greatest experiences of my life. But yeah.
Yeah.
In the first part, Moana looks to the past to find herself. In the second part, she looks to the past but to discover her future self and
Right.
her real potential. Was it a challenge to show this development and new themes in the songs?
I feel like that was the part that we resonated most with. Because taking a leap of faith into a place that no one's ever gone before is scary, and leaving everything behind. Like, obviously, we're not living on an island and setting sail on a canoe to a cursed ocean god. Storm god. But Abby always says this, and it's really nice. Everyone has their own version of that. And change like that and feeling the weight of responsibility like that it's terrifying. And so we wanted to show her strength in all the parts of Moana that we love, but we also wanted to show that she's a human and the vulnerable side. And you can mess up and the world is not going to end,
The new songs sound familiar, but also have a marked personality compared to the first part. What can we appreciate about your own musical personality in the songs?
That's a really good question. I think us as young girls, like she said, we just relate to Moana so heavily. And we also we're young, we have this, I feel like, this freshness and this openness to listening and learning. And I feel like this whole process became life as a classroom. I learned so much, and we really kept the door open to any opportunity to, listen and learn. And we had to take a lot of notes. We had a big creative team around us. So, I think we did a pretty good job at taking those notes and evolving the story and the music together.
I think we wanted one foot in of the world of Moana and then one foot out because, even just the size of the ocean for her has grown immensely. And so we wanted the music to get bigger. We wanted the voices of the characters to evolve because, she's grown up. If you think back to yourself when you were 16 and then you think to yourself at 19, those are two entirely different people. So we wanted to show the difference in her voice and how she's matured. And Maui and all the characters. But also, we got to meet new characters. So we got to write for new characters. And that needs to be different. It needs to sound different. Otherwise, what are you doing? So that was really fun. So for Matangi, we got to craft a new sound and kind of step a little bit outside of the world that we know, while still having anchors.
Yeah, we are back, for example, works as a bridge between both
Exactly. Yeah.
films. But beyond shows the way that Moana carries on her back. Was it difficult to find that central big song for the film?
There was a song there that was not Beyond for a long time. And it had similar messaging, but it was more her struggling to make the decision whether to go or not. But then we all looked at each other after a screening and said, we know she's going to go. This is stupid. So we kind of shifted a bit. And Beyond, I think, was one of the ones that kind of just fell out. And it took some finagling to get the exact lyrics to the place that the filmmakers were happy with and made sense for the story and things that we thought were poetic and beautiful and profound. But that, I feel like we have some callbacks to the first Moana because she's in a similar place, but everything has shifted. So we wanted there to be, a different tone, a different voice, but also a connection.
Because the one thing she learned about herself is who she is in the first film. That proclamation of I am Moana is still there with her, even 3 years later.
Yeah, totally. One of the stand-up numbers in the film for me is Get Lost with that jazzy feeling. Matang is a star, a peculiar villain about whom we want to know much more. Was it a dream come true to compose a song for a Disney villain?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yes. Get Lost is my favorite song because I love a villainous bop. I think it adds so much to the storytelling and, getting to see the perspective of a villain. We don't really know if she's a villain. Is she? Is she not? But that's the beauty of her.
She's multifaceted.
Yes.
And she's very elusive and she's a diva. And when we got to know her character a little bit before we wrote the song, she was like, we need a show-stopping number. She needs a song. And so I was also on tour with Beyonce at that point, and I feel like being on tour with her and listening to her music on a loop every day probably impacted the way that we wrote that song.
Thank you so much. That was all of our time. Thank you very much for having me. Enjoy the premiere these days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.